Hey there, welcome to the Deliver on Your Business podcast, where you are the boss. I'm Ron from EntreCourier.com. Entree is from entrepreneur, for somebody who is in business for themselves. And here's the deal, folks. If you're an independent contractor, you are operating a business, ready or not. So that makes you an Entree Courier. Welcome to the club. This podcast is here to help you think like a business owner and to thrive in your business. So let's get started, shall we? Well, happy Monday, Courier Nation. Did you get our Courier Nation motivation email this morning? Are you signed up for our Courier Nation motivation email? Every Monday, we send out an email that is designed to motivate and to challenge. And we also provide recaps of information that we've been providing. So it'll give you links to all of the transcript pages to these episodes and to any other articles that we publish that maybe we didn't have on the podcast. For example, this last week, we had a couple of articles talking about DoorDash's promise to develop a new pay model. So if you want to kind of keep up on some of the things that we're doing, head on over to the website and sign up for our email. In this week's email, I put out a challenge to set a goal and to pick one particular area. If you go to episode 8, we talk about 3 important measurements that you can use to see how you're doing, whether it's profit per hour, deliveries per hour, or dollars per mile. So maybe pick one of those areas. And I want to invite you to take that challenge yourself. Pick one of those areas. Look how you did last week. And set a goal to do just a little bit better this week. See where you can improve. And now I did this in the email, but I'll do it here. I let people know what my own goal was going to be for this week. This week I'm setting it a little bit high. I'm shooting for $25 profit per hour. And now, just to give you a heads up, I'm doing a lot of things this week, so I'm cutting back on a lot of my time. So I'm kind of cherry picking the best hours to go out. But that's the goal that I set for myself. Now, the reason that I did this is that in that email, I also told people, when you set a goal, tell somebody your goal. You know, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, or you can tell us in the community here. Because once you tell somebody, once you make that public, it kind of adds a layer of commitment to going after that goal, and it adds a little bit of accountability. So do you want to get in on the action here on this challenge? I know we sent that to the email community, but I'll put the links in the show notes for Facebook and LinkedIn posts where we challenge people with that. So you can let people know your goal there. Or you could tweet your goal at me at Entree Courier. If you want to just email the goal to me and just make that personal or something, email Ron at EntreCourier.com. Or you can go to our contact page at DeliverOnYourBusiness.com and click on the microphone, and you can leave me a voicemail and tell me what your goal is for the week, and I'll follow up with you to see how we're doing here. Folks, we are winding down our Courier MBA series. Today is episode number 29 out of 31 episodes on mastering your business attitude. So the last 4 episodes of the series, and this is the second of those 4, have been on employee relations. And today we are talking about creating a good work environment for your employee. We're talking about 6 ways to make that delivery work more enjoyable. Folks, you've got a duty to your employee. Now, if you've been listening along on earlier episodes of this podcast, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you may have already figured it out a little bit anyway. But if you haven't, this is written to independent contractors in the food delivery part of the gig economy. And so when I'm talking about your employees, I know some of you might be thinking that I don't have any employee. But here's the thing. When you're an independent contractor, you are considered self-employed. So put the pieces together here. When you're self-employed, your employee is you. And so you've got a duty to that employee to make a good work environment. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. We want to talk about creating, some of it is about maybe a work-life balance, and some of it is just making your work enjoyable, making your work something that you look forward to doing instead of something that you dread doing. Now, I know that I can't speak for everybody. Personally, I find delivery work to be far less stressful than that 9-to-5 job, because you deliver the food, you drop off the food, you go home, and that's it. There's no work following me home. Maybe with the only exceptions being if there was somebody that didn't show up for their food and I've still got food in the car and I take that home. That's about it. But you know what I mean? It's not like what I've had in traditional jobs where you go home and all of the stress of the job and all the worrying about all the things that are coming up, or, whatever's going on with the boss or any of the micromanaging, how that sometimes your work just follows you home. And that's what I really enjoy about doing this stuff is, at least for me, that doesn't happen. It makes it easier. It makes it feel like there's not that feeling that there's a grind to this. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's true for you, but that's one of the things is you want to kind of create an environment where you can enjoy the work that you're doing. And so let's talk about maybe some steps that can help us better enjoy what we're doing here. So here's a few things that we can think about. I think the first thing that you can do to make it more enjoyable is to remember your why. Focus on your why. I talk about this in more depth in episode 3. And I'll put the link in the show notes to episode 3 there. But I really encourage you to go back to episode 3 and listen to that, because what I really want you to do is at least put a lot of thought into why you're doing this. Understand the reasons why that is important to you. And I know it's about the money. We're making money, but why are you trying to make the money? Do you see what I'm asking? Why do you need that money? Is it just to make ends meet? Is it something to take care of family? Is it something for a family member? Are you saving up for something? Is it vacation? Is it, they're paying down debt? It's all sorts of different things. But you think about those things that you're doing, that this money that you're earning is doing for you, and ask yourself, why is that important? And get to the heart of it all. Get to the things that really, really matter. Because I think the thing that is really important about being able to enjoy anything that you do is that when you have a sense of meaning behind it, it really makes it easier to enjoy it. It really makes it easier to feel motivated. And so really think about that why. Think about what lies at the heart of what is most important to you, and use that as a motivation, and use that as a way to kind of help build some meaning around what you're doing. A second thing that I would really encourage you to do, and in some ways it ties in with the first, but it's keep your work in perspective. Keep the things that you're doing, your delivery to stuff, your time that you're doing things, keep that in perspective with the rest of your life. And that's one of the reasons that I said that focusing on your why is so important, because use that as perspective for what you're doing. So is your why, is it tied into your family? Well, make sure that you're not neglecting your family in doing this, so that you're not defeating the whole purpose of your why. For me, it is about creating flexibility to do some other things that I'm passionate about. I wanted to have something that I could work when I wanted to work or when I needed to work, and when I could take the time off when I needed to take the time off. And I've got to admit, sometimes that's hard to keep that in balance. Sometimes it's real easy to let the time that I'm pouring into the delivery work get in the way of the whole thing that was my why to begin with. Don't let your work interfere with the things that you're working to accomplish through this work in the first place. So try to keep your work and your time in balance with other things that are important to you. There may be times that you decide it's better to give up a lucrative shift of delivery because that's an important time for your family. And sometimes that's the thing with holidays. There are some holidays where you could make a lot of money out there, and I make the decision, no, I'm taking this time off because it's more important for me to spend that time with family. We talked yesterday about the benefits of giving yourself some time off. So think about that kind of a thing. Have a clear understanding of those things that are priorities in your life, and make sure that your delivery business isn't getting in the way of those priorities. A third thing that I would recommend is create a good work environment. Now, for most of us, that's our car. I have done a few deliveries on my bike, and I kind of tricked out the bike a little bit. It makes it a little more enjoyable, but especially with your car. Now, I talk in episode 10, and I'll put a link in the show notes to that one also. Now, I talk in the equipment section there that I talk about one of the most important things for a car that I think is even more important than things like gas mileage is whether or not it's a car that you can spend as many hours in that you've got to spend. If it's not comfortable, if it's just kind of, miserable or whatever, you may not want to spend as much time as you need to spend in the car. So make it an environment that you can enjoy. I've gone and I've invested money in a little better sound system. I invested in an Android compatible stereo that works well with the podcasts and with the audiobooks that I'm listening to. It also has a backup camera. It's probably the only 1998 Buick that has a backup camera. Maybe somebody else has got one out there. I'm sure maybe they do. But the whole point of it is that I've created an environment. The car is comfortable. It's something that I can spend a lot of time in. It's something that I can enjoy, whether it's listening to music or turning on the podcasts or the audiobooks or whatever it is. And what that does is 12 hours in a day doesn't feel like a grind when I'm out there in the car doing that because I've created a comfortable environment. You want to do that. You want to make it something that you can put up with the time in there, A fourth thing that I would recommend is really focus on having a positive attitude. I'm on the fence about the value of some of the Facebook pages and groups that are out there. I see the value in some ways in that you can kind of keep up on information, and sometimes you can get some tips and tricks, although most of the time the advice is really bad. But, you can kind of keep up on what's going on. You can find out when there are issues with any of the apps and different things like that. But the flip side is they are so negative. There is so much negativity on most of those pages. There are just some miserable people out there, and maybe that's part of social media. And I'm glad that I don't do a whole lot on YouTube because I've heard that YouTube is even worse. But, there's people on there. They're cussing out the customers in the restaurants and the customers and complaining about everything. And then, really attacking anybody that's got anything to say. And my gosh, there's some miserable people. And you wonder how they survive, because if this kind of stuff stresses them out that much, I worry about their blood pressure and things like that. You know what I mean? But here's the thing about that kind of stuff is you can control how you feel on those things. And yeah, I understand that it is frustrating sometimes, some of the things that the companies do. There are times when I can't get a hold of support or they really screw something up, and I get frustrated by it, just like everybody else. The restaurants can frustrate you. The people we deliver to can frustrate you. Not getting a tip can frustrate you, but you can still control how that impacts you. And what I really recommend is look at the bigger picture when it comes to those things. Don't stress over the things that you cannot control. That's one of Stephen Covey's habits of highly effective people, is that you put your focus on the things you can control. And one of those is your attitude. Look at things more through the bigger picture. Look at the fact that this little delivery, even if it's messed up, it's part of something bigger. And look for the things out there that you can enjoy. For me, I'm a big dog lover, so I love when I go into places and there's all sorts of different dogs and things like that, and that's just something that is enjoyable to me. Look for the positives, look for the smiles, look for the quirky little things that you see. One of my favorite quotes is, "Whatever is true, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things." Creating a positive attitude and looking for the good in things, it really does make a difference in how you get through your day. The fifth suggestion that I would have is to create some challenges for yourself. Now, there's a little bit of similarity to the first one that I gave, which was about focusing on your why. And I say that because When you can find some meaning, when you can find something more than just doing something, it really does make a difference. And sometimes it can be just in creating a challenge or something. I mentioned this in the introduction to this episode, that I put out a challenge to people in our weekly email to set a goal. And, create little goals, create challenges, find things that you can do to kind of slightly improve. And, so what I mentioned was pick one of the 3 statistics that we put in episode 8 in measuring your performance. Use that to set a goal that is slightly better than what you've done this past week. And every week, maybe pick something like that. And that helps just create a little more sense of meaning, a little more sense of something to try to accomplish. And that helps make a difference. Now, one last tip that I would offer is take advantage of your time, folks. Guys, we've got a tremendous amount of spare time. It's maybe not totally spare time because you're driving, but it's that time that you're spending driving to the restaurants, time that you're spending driving to the end users. And to me, I see that as a fantastic opportunity, because whether it is something like what we talked about in episode 7, which is talking about an exit plan. And when we talked about an exit plan, it was kind of like start thinking towards the things that you want to do. And as we got further into that episode, we talked about and find things that can help you. And use your time there to be able to prepare for those things that you want to do later in life. There are podcasts all over. There's podcasts on just about every subject you could hope for. There's a podcast for the business aspects of delivery drivers, for gosh sakes, There are ebooks out there, audiobooks out there. There's all sorts of things out there that you can listen to. Take advantage of the time and do that. And so whether it is about an exit strategy, whether it's about things that you just want to learn about, whether it's things where you want to grow, take advantage. Find those podcasts, find the audiobooks, find the things that can really help expand your mind while you're going, and that can make that time just fly. Because that's when I started paying attention to that kind of stuff, my playlist isn't that huge, so it started getting old after a little while. So I've just really found that when I started expanding all the things that I was listening to, it made my time go so much faster. Those are some ideas. Those are some things that you can do to try and really enhance your work environment. And I'd love to hear from you. What are some things that work for you? If you can send me an email at ron@entrecourier.com, or leave a voicemail through the contact page, or leave a comment on the blog. Tell me some things that actually make a difference for you. I would love to hear that. I'd love to share that if you'd like me to share it. I'd love to get your perspective. So folks, that kind of wraps up our topic for today. And we've just got 2 episodes left in this series. It's hard to believe already. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to stay on top of this thing. But here we are. We're almost done. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about giving your employee a paycheck. I want to thank you for tuning in and joining us today. Come on over to our website. Check us out. You can scroll through previous posts there. Look us up on Twitter, Facebook, even on LinkedIn, and search for Entre Courier. And you can look for our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all of the main podcast channels. Folks, as always, I want to save this part for last because I want to make sure I've earned the right to ask this before I do ask a favor. But my favor is this. If you found anything useful in our podcast, in our website, could you share the word? Could you tell people about us? Could you let other drivers know about us if they could benefit from the things that we're providing here? So share us on social media. Leave a review at iTunes or any of the sites that you can leave reviews on us, because that kind of stuff helps us get found. And if people can find us, that's more people that can benefit from the things that we're providing here. One last favor that I ask you, please. Go out there. Take control of your business. Go and be the boss.